there be a big media story coming out of CES? A lot of people talk about the streaming wars. You and I have talked about changes in devices and the TV sets themselves. From a TV industry standpoint, which we cover so closely, what do you anticipate being either the hot topic of conversation or the focus of innovation?
Look, I think the long-term trends are very, very straightforward, and we've talked about this in previous years. Screens are getting bigger and cheaper. The home viewing experience is beginning to more closely approximate the theatrical experience, and that allowed us many, many years ago to predict that the whole exhibition process was going to change. And what we're seeing today in the streaming wars is a reflection of that, right? So movie attendance today is focused primarily on people under 34 years of age. Everybody over 34 is underserved by today's theatrical content. And parties like Netflix and Amazon Prime and now Disney Plus and others are beginning to fill the gap, right? The content is consumed at home instead of theatrically. Instead of paying for a movie ticket, you pay for a movie subscription. Having said that, not everybody can afford to sign up for every streamer, and there's going to be some fallout. The Netflix model is not long-term sustainable from an economic standpoint. Netflix achieved its success because they were the poor man's HBO, and instead of charging $15 to $20 the way HBO and Showtime were, they charged $7.99, and they hit very high penetration, right? They have begun to plateau, and in fact, some would argue they're slipping backwards in markets like the United States. They still have massive international growth ahead of them. But only 4 of the top 20 shows on Netflix are their own. Everything else is off-network repeats like The Office and Friends and so on. And that content is being pulled by our friends at Disney and Comcast, who need that content for their own streaming services. And so Netflix is going to have to spend more and more money to remain competitive in this space at a time when they are getting pushback on their price structures. And if one were to do a back-of-the-envelope evaluation of Netflix, simply to understand what they have to spend per subscriber to stop hemorrhaging money, you'll find that that number is probably above the level that the consumer would accept. So can a consumer fund all the subscription services out there? Unlikely. History has shown that they can't. And so there will be some fallout from that. I don't think the existing cable model I think it has quite a number of years left to it because it is still QAM distribution, quadruple amplitude modulated distribution, the old cable infrastructure, is still the most cost-efficient way to distribute and will remain so for a number of years, especially when you're talking about linear consumption. And so things are going to morph. They're not going to change overnight. But I think if you focus on the opportunity as opposed to the complexity, streamers are all addressable. And that creates some very, very interesting opportunities from a data standpoint, from a technology standpoint, from a platform standpoint, and from the return on investment on marketing spend.